my name is Connor Murillo. I am the Assistant Archivist here at the Birmingham Public Library's archive. I've been here for about 5 years. I got my undergrad in history at the University of Montevallo, and then I received my master's of LIS, or Library and Information Studies, at the University of Alabama. So what I'll be going over today, I did. So during my time at the University of Alabama, I decided to take an internship, and I interned here for about half a year. Came back and did some work with here, not as a full-time, but more of as a freelance researcher. And then eventually I was able to get a job here. I'm going to be talking to you guys about the archives. Show of hands, how many people have actually been in an archives before? Ooh, everyone, awesome. Sometimes I get no one, sometimes I get a lot of people. So this is good. So a lot of this may be known to you, but I'll be talking about our archives in particular. I know that UAB has its own archives, but where we kind of overlap is a little bit different. There may be some similarities, but there will also be some differences. So what is an archive? As most of you probably know, we are a repository for information. A lot of this information is going to be in the form of physical documentation or physical artifacts. But you can have an archive of almost anything. Photographs, paintings, written materials, or even like physical objects. A lot of our documentation or a lot of our artifacts are going to be letters, photographs, or things of that nature, pamphlets, and these things. Now, like I said, some things can be archived that are physical artifacts, like medical tools. You can have an archive of medical tools or other instruments, or actual paintings or things like that. The Museum of Art has a very large collection, as you all know, of different archive materials of statues, porcelain, but also paintings. So that would be another instance of that. Moving right along, we do have quite a lot of physical materials, but we also have a lot of materials online that you can use. And this is kind of what this is talking about. We have a lot of online resources and a list of our collections online. So if you're interested to see if we maybe have something for a particular research topic, I highly recommend you going to our collections page, taking a look at what we actually have on offer, and then kind of narrowing it down from there. At any time, you can contact us, give us a call, send us an email, and I will have my email up at the end, but we also have an Ask a Librarian form that you can fill out that will make its way to us. And that way, if you do have any questions about what we may or may not have or how to access those documents, we can go over that. We also have things that have been digitized. Unfortunately, we have several million documents in our archive. Not a lot of it has been digitized. I would say maybe less than a quarter have been digitized. And that's due to the digitization process more than anything else. It's time consuming, it costs a lot of money, and it takes the manpower. And unfortunately, we have very little of those three things. But we do have some things that have been digitized, including photographs, newspaper clippings, but also scrapbooks and things like that. And I'll actually show you how to access those documents and show you where all of that can be found. We also have databases. So kind of going back to the fire insurance maps or the Sanborn fire insurance maps, and I mentioned that we have a new database that has all of those digitized, including other maps of early Birmingham, like the Base Atlas. The Base Atlas is from, I believe, 1901. The Sanborn maps started around there, but the way they were updated makes it a little bit difficult to kind of see some of the earlier maps. As the Sanborn maps were updated, instead of buying a new collection of the Sanborn maps, they would go through and they would paste over each section an updated. So if a house no longer existed, they would paste over an empty lot where that house used to be. And I'll kind of show you that when we go to those. The most updated version that we have here in the library, the physical copies, is the 1951 Sanborn maps. But again, you can find in some places like in 1902. Now, our 1951 means it was updated in 1951, but those books are from 1902. Using finding aids. So most of our collections that have been processed have a finding aid. A finding aid is going to be very helpful for you as you do research. A finding aid will tell you item by item what is in a collection. So if you were looking at a collection for, let's say, civil rights, the finding aid will tell you what is in that collection, whether or not we have journals, letters, or photographs. And it basically will help you kind of narrow down what you're looking for. Instead of looking through 50 boxes worth of materials, maybe you're only actually going to need 1 or 2 boxes. And that's where the finding aid kind of comes into play. Now, we do have some materials that have not been processed yet. You are still free to access them. However, they just won't be organized the same way with the finding aid. But all of our information that we have is open to the public, and we try to make it as easy as possible to make it available. Sometimes we have a lot of stuff on the back burner, and we have to just slowly process everything. Again, it's just a time constraint. Making an appointment. We are an appointment-only group. This is for several reasons. One, we have a very limited space in our reading room. We only have 3 tables. 2, if you come in with a very broad topic and we have to sit there, research it, see what we have, and then try to pull all those documents while you are here, you may be waiting for up to an hour as we just try and figure out where things are. If you make an appointment, we can pull those materials for you beforehand and have them waiting for you before you arrive. Again, if you will want to make an appointment, that's our number right there, and that's just for our main office. We are open Monday through Thursdays and on Saturdays for appointments from 10 a.m. to about 5 p.m. We close at 6, but if you make an appointment at 5:45, you're really not going to get a lot of done. Any questions so far? I know I'm kind of moving quickly, but I also understand we have a lot of information to get through, and we're on a time constraint. Any questions? All right. Gloves in the archives. It is a misconception that you have to wear gloves for every single material. In fact, we only require gloves for photographs, and that's because the oils on your hands can be toxic to the photographs. It will slowly start to erode, especially negatives. It will erode the enamels that make up the photograph. On paper materials, we actually prefer that you do not wear any type of gloves. And that is because you will lose dexterity as you're moving through the documents, and especially on very fragile like newspapers or onion paper or things that are just very old. You can end up tearing that material, and that's the opposite of what we want to do. So we only require gloves for photographs, and we actually don't use cotton very much anymore. We only use like throwaway rubber gloves. I think it's nitrile that we use, yeah. Used to use cotton, but it's a lot easier just to have throwaway gloves, and that way people aren't like mixing up the gloves, and it could get gross. When you arrive, we do require you to fill out a registration form. There's this part of the registration form that has our rules and regulations. Each one is on there for a reason. We try not to pick on anybody, but we do have a list of rules that you need to follow. No pens. No pens allowed or any type of ink allowed in the archives. Can anyone guess why that is? No one? It's because if you try to accidentally make notes on a document and you use a pen, you have now physically altered an historic document, and we can't remove that. That is not preservation. And we have had people do that. They think it's perfectly fine to write on a document that's over 50 to 100 years old with a pen, like it's their own personal document. So no pens. Don't even try it. Pencils are perfectly acceptable, mechanical or otherwise. What's really frustrating is when someone pulls in a mechanical pencil that looks exactly like a pen. Confuses me every time. Other than that, some materials you can actually take photographs of with your phone. We usually ask that if you do take a photograph that you remove the flash, but with documents like the Board of Equalization files, you can take as many photographs as you would like. Now, we usually restrict photographs of photographs, and that's usually because of permissions and copyright. When you are looking at documents, we usually also ask that you leave the document flat on a table. So if you were looking at this document, you can remove it from the tray, keep it flat, but don't lift it up like this. And this is just to make sure that it's completely supported at all times. A lot of these documents do get a lot of traction, so a lot of people are looking through them. And one or two people looking through a folder like this, you're not going to see any damage. After hundreds and thousands of people come through over the years and they start looking through documents, this folder will not last long. So we really try to make sure that whenever people are handling these documents, that it is also going to continue to preserve so that the next group of students, so that the next generation can still access these documents and still actively look through this information. The PowerPoint is almost over, and then I will get into showing you a lot of our online, how to access finding aids and things like that in some of our databases, and I'll also be showing you what I've brought up here for you to look at. I know you asked for the city directories, the Board of Equalization files, and then the Sanborn maps. So I'll be getting to all of that. Next, this top part, we just ask that people fill out, really just so we know who you are, why you're coming into the archives, mostly because we're just interested in knowing what you're researching and how better we can provide information. Maybe you've asked for one collection, but we know two other collections that may be of assistance to you. We can, by knowing what you're researching, we can provide that for you. And then this bottom part is really just for our statistics, so we can show, yes, people do still use the library. People still come into the archives, and we are still relevant. Before coming to the archive, what I would recommend is doing pre-research first. Sometimes doing a simple Google search is enough to bring up resources for you that you may not have realized about that topic, especially with some topics that you hope is in the archives, but we don't have them. Or they're not in our archives, but they're in a different archive. Sometimes just doing that simple Google search will point you in the right direction and give you a good baseline for your research. Next, checking our list of collections. If you think we have something, check our collections first. Again, it may be that we don't have it, another archive might have it, but this again will give you kind of a pointer of, oh, they have this, but they also have this. I didn't know that. So let me ask about this as well. Again, it'll give you a nice baseline of what to expect when you come to our archive. If you just show up without having done all of this, you may have done a wasted visit. And I really hate turning people away or telling them, I am so sorry, but this is not at our archive, this is actually at this archive. And that has happened before. If you see a collection that you're interested in, I would recommend looking at the finding aid, because maybe we have something about a person you're researching or a place, but maybe it's not that right information, or it's just specific business records, but what you need are events or things like that. The finding aid may be able to tell you what we have and how much of something that we do have. And again, I'll go over and pull up a finding aid for you so you know what you're looking at and you know how to kind of navigate it. But after that, also, if we don't have a finding aid online, you can always contact us and we can see if we have one digitally and we can email it to you. If not, often we have finding aids in a physical format and we can pull that out for you as well. Making an appointment. again, give us a call, send us an email, set up an appointment. Again, we are pretty flexible as long as you give us a heads up. And we will have those materials ready for you when you get here so you can get straight into the meat of your research. Fill in the registration form and then enjoy your visit. We try to make the archives as a very welcoming place, a place where you can actually come and do your research and get good service. And we do care about that. Any questions, comments, concerns? Yes, sir.
Not a registration form, the other form you showed, is that something you got for you?
So you will receive it. You will receive it once you enter, and we can kind of look at what you're doing. Often, if you've already contacted us to make an appointment, we'll do the reference interview. We'll ask you what you're researching. If you can be as specific as possible, that helps us a lot. Because if you just tell me, hi, I'm researching civil rights. Excellent. That is wonderful. There's so much on civil rights. Are you looking at Fred Shuttlesworth? Are you looking at Martin Luther King? Are you looking at the bus bombings? Are you looking at the bombings of the... Right. There is a lot of topics. So if you can tell me, I am researching this specific bombing that happened at this location, I can go in and see what we may have on that. Or I'm looking at this particular person on this particular date leading up to a specific event. Again, we might be able to pull some more information on that. But just telling someone, I'm here to research civil rights, there is so many documents, so many books, so many documentaries. There's so much information that's floating around there that can mean almost anything. We're here to assist you, but we can't pave the way for you. We can help you walk down the path of research, but we can't make the path. That's up to you. So knowing what you want to do, making sure that you have narrowed down your topics and things like that can really help us work with you. Again, this is our office number. This is my work email. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to send me an email. I check it fairly regularly, every day. It's usually never closed when I'm at work. And I usually work Monday through Friday, and occasionally Saturdays. But as soon as I see it, I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. All right, so that ends the slideshow. So now let's get into some of the little bits. This is our website. So when you type in Birmingham Public Library, it'll take you to this page. And from here, if you want to get to the archives, explore BPL, over here to the archives. You could probably also just Google Birmingham Public Library's archive, and you would be able to be pulled up to this page. But if you're just going from our website, this is the easiest way to get here. From here, you have some history about the archives over here, but over here is really what you're going to be looking for. At the top, we have collections. So this is, again, that list I was talking to you about, that what we have in our archives, what we have available. And a lot of times, there are finding aids attached to those descriptions. So if I click here, that is not what I wanted. If I click here, it brings up the alphabetical list of our collections going down here, but then we also have a subject list over here. So just for an example, if you are interested in civil rights, let's say in just Birmingham, and you click on this, it'll show you which collections we have available, not online, but in person. It'll give you a small description of what's inside. Then it will tell you how large the collection is and if there is a finding aid available. So let's go down, let's see. Our digital collections are right here, but I'll go back to the our databases. This is where you're gonna find the fire insurance maps. The database is called Fire Insurance Maps, or FIMO. If you click that, should take you to the page with the fire insurance maps on it. Another reason why I wanted to bring this map up or this particular database up is because if you go here to interactive map, it shows you the entire South. So it's not just Birmingham that you can research, but if you want, you can type in an address. Yeah. All right, Park Place, here we are. If I click on a spot, I can come down here and it will show me which maps we have of that location. I just clicked on the library. Then what you can do, insurance maps. These are the Sanborns. One, it will tell you what date of the Sanborn it's active. It'll tell you how many sheets, the map type, the publisher, the year, but then also which volume. A lot of the Sanborn maps have multiple volumes because of the size of Alabama. This kind of breaks it down for you and tells you exactly in which volume that location is going to be found. You can then click, let's say the 1911, one of the earlier ones, show. It'll overlay the Sanborn index. You might have to kind of play around with it a little bit, especially typing in an address. The more accurate you can be or the more specific. But again, you can overlay the Sanborn map. It'll tell you which volume, where exactly to go. Not only that, but if you click here, it'll take you to the Sanborn map. With this, if you are looking up something specific, especially for a research class, and you're trying to find a particular map or see where a street, how it's developed over the years, being able to overlay it kind of makes it a little bit easier to find those specific locations in the Sanborn map. Again, it's a multi-volume collection. The physical volumes are very large. And instead of having to look through the index and kind of go down, you can type in the address and we'll just go through the process from here. What's the address? So if you type in the address up here, it'll show you as close as possible where it's going to be. You can hit the show. You can hit the show button, so you can have the overlay. And this will also tell you, so 186 means it's on page 186. It is overlaying the index on top of that location. So if we know that it's page 186, if I clicked on here, Insurance Maps of Birmingham, this is volume 2. I go down to page 186 and click on it. So 186, this is going to be it. You can zoom in and focus on a particular spot. And because these are very high quality scans, you can actually zoom in quite a lot. So you, especially on some of the later maps, you can actually see where they've pasted over different spots. Now this is the 1911, so it's going to be one of the earliest. If you looked at the 1950, you would actually see those paste marks.
Okay. Can we look at 1911?
So this is the 1911 one, yeah.
So the information on Google says that this building was built in 1927. So it wouldn't be on here, would it? Okay. So, you see that? You got to use your history document, right? So, either Google's wrong or not. I don't know. It's also a Tudor Revival building, if you look at it all. It's built in a Tudor Revival style. Looks more 20s to me.
The gable building.
Yeah, looks more 20s to me than 1911, so we've got some discrepancies there, right? But is this it right here? Where is it?
So this is just of that location.
Okay. Where is my location?
So this is
It's
Avenue F.
It's 8th, 9th, 10th Avenue, and 10th Street. So it's that triangle there. Do you know what I'm talking about? Bessie Estelle Park or the Church of the Clock? Oh, that's not it.
No, but what we can do is pull up this. So this is the index that I was mentioning, and it will basically, this is what you would use, and you can still do so, but we can try and find, you said 8th Avenue?
Yeah. Yeah, the triangular corner is 8th Street, 9th Court, 10th Avenue, and 10th Street. So,
This is 9th Avenue South, right here, or Avenue I.
here is it, right? 10th. So,
This is 11th,
here's a triangle, 187.
187.
Could that be it? Let's see.
So again,
I think that,
this will tell you which page you need to go to in the volume. If you needed to go further over, it would tell you which volume. So this is 187. And then you can just scroll down over here to 187.
and again, this is 1911. Okay,
As it loads.
okay.
So this is 9th Street right here, Avenue H. Some of those areas.
Street, so that can throw you off too. So if you get confused like that, like, look at this, that's what the archive is for, right? Yeah. So that looks like it could well be our place right here, right? So in 1911, if we're right, I think we are, see that triangle place? What do you see? Can you tell them what those structures are by the symbol?
Yes, so
What do they see in there?
so it's going to have a D and then the color. What you can do,
And so what, you're gonna, yeah.
you can hit the key. It'll tell you what each of those represent, what the colors mean. So D is a dwelling.
D is a dwelling, a house, okay?
Yellow, just that solid yellow, means it's a frame building.
Yeah.
So probably a wood frame building.
Yeah.
If
And
you,
then got brick, I'm sorry.
oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, so as Dr. King was saying, you have brick, shingle roof. It'll basically tell you what the materials are for those buildings. Again, this is a fire insurance map. Fire departments or whoever was going through to try and rescue if something happened to these buildings, they needed to know what the building was made out of so that they could then file insurance, all that sort of thing, or what kind of insurance would be appropriate for it. And that's why they used or created these. It's great for us because it tells us if these are all dwellings in this particular neighborhood, well, this is probably a dwelling neighborhood. If these were buildings that were maybe like churches, governmental buildings, or things like that, it would kind of give you a distinct picture of maybe what was going on in that building. A lot of these would also tell you if they were black or if they were white.
A lot of times it will say color, in parentheses, or it might say Negro. And one of the things will tell you that up until 1952 was the city director's bill, either with an asterisk or C in parentheses. So wonderful for historians, not so good for society, but great for historians. But so far we found that in 1911, on that side, all I saw was dwellings. Have y'all seen this building? You gotta see the building first, right? And just see if that matches with your project place, right? And so if it doesn't, then it wasn't there in our building was not there in 1911. Does that make sense? So that's a big piece of information, right? Okay. Can we go to 51?
So again, what you would then just need to do is probably go back. So we're back here on the map. So instead of choosing the 1911, again, it's volume 2, can hide that. But then what we can do is show the 1950 and see if it's changed any. So again, this is 186, but we can also see maybe 187 might serve us better. So then we would just come down here, click on the map. So again, this is going to be revised to March 1950. It even says it at the top. If you need to look at the key again, you can do so up here. But let's go to 187, 60s, 81, 87. And now you can actually kind of see this is where they've pasted over the different parts. And again, you can kind of zoom in a little bit. You can see this is now 8th Avenue South, or Avenue H. So again, you can see that things have changed. Street names, so this is 9th Avenue or Avenue I. So it was probably Avenue I before that. They've changed what's over here. And if we zoom in real close, you can kind of see what they've pasted over. Again, it's one of the reasons why I really like these maps, or their scans, is because, especially over here, we can kind of see what was underneath.
I was confused from now because very clearly this is a brick building that's there now that looks like it's built in the 20s. And there's a gas station in front. So we may be off.
Right here? Okay.
Okay, so this is our correct place. Okay, all right. So we are looking at the wrong piece of land. Is that what you're saying? Yes. And I think it's
We can see, did you try going to the 240? Okay. This does happen occasionally. The maps will cut off because it doesn't go far enough. Now, if we go, we're on 187. Let's go to our index. And sometimes you kind of have to play around with that. We were on 187 right here. Right. That's not going to be a page number. The only page numbers are your big bold. This is going to be a location number. Yeah. But as we saw on page 187, this tip, probably right down here, has been cut off. And again, that did happen. A lot of these maps are being put together by hand. Either A, they didn't extend far enough down, or they didn't cover every location. Things changed. Or
what should we do about them finding this place on the same board?
So what you could try to do is either to compare maps. You know where it is located on like maybe a current map, try and do that overlay, or even have two maps open, trying to figure out exactly which page it's going to be. Compare streets. So this is 11, this is 10th Street. You have 8th South. It's probably, might be an avenue, yeah, 9th Avenue. So
it's 9th Court, 8th Avenue, what did I say? It's 9th Court, 8th Avenue, 10th and 10th.
10th Avenue, I'm not. 10th Street is right here. And then this is 10th Place is right here. But this, what we're doing right here is what you would need to do if you're trying to find something and you're missing it on the map. Going back and forth, double checking your maps.
Let me just show this. 8th Street, 9th Court, 10th Street, and 10th Avenue. Yeah, I wanted to.
Which means let's try 193 and see if it kind of picks up anything. And again, sometimes you're having to go back, even if this was a physical copy of the map, flipping between the index and then the pages, checking to see where the building may land.
And this may be when they make an appointment to talk to you. Would you say that?
Absolutely. Again, if you have questions,
No, I know. In terms of street,
so here we have 10th Avenue, 10th Alley. This is Montgomery, so this is 10th Street right here. So what we can see, this is an apartment. And probably what I would start asking is, how far along in your research have you gone? What have you looked at? Have you been able to find anything? I would then probably do the same thing that we're doing now, going back through the maps, double checking where they are. You might be able to check the city directories to see if anything pops up for a particular year, or if there was a name change in some of the streets, making sure everything lines up correctly.
Okay, so let me get a definitive answer if we can.
Sure.
Will they be able to find this on a sounding?
If it's not on here and we're not seeing it, and we have all the locations correct, then it doesn't look like it.
Okay.
And again, sometimes that is the case. You try everything, you look at the maps, and the maps just won't show it. And unfortunately, it is beyond my abilities to make things appear on a map.
Yeah, okay. So what I want to do before we get started, I know we do it next one.
Okay.
I want to look at the city directories real quick.
Yeah.
And because, and y'all come around, I want you to see. So
So
you go ahead.
This is for the 1940s. I just picked one. We have copies in the library from late 1800s all the way to current times. Now they do change distinctly over that time, but you can look up locations either by an address. It will tell you who lives at a place, who their spouse was, and what their occupation was. You can also do it the reverse side. You can look up a particular name. It'll tell you where they live. And again, it should give you information on what they did and who they were married to.
Can you find this address in there?
Right. It was 803.
803 9th Court South.
So over here in the back,
Y'all come look, please.
over here on the backhand side is where you're going to see the addresses. All right. Then you kind of flip through. You said 803 10th Court South? 9th Court South. Thank you. Basically, you are going to where you can find, so this is 1st Avenue. So I need to keep going. Okay. Yeah, let's see if the 9th Court is there, and then we'll check the other name. But again, you would basically go, this is 8th, 9th is starting over here.
And make sure you're in south and not north.
And the way they're going to do it, this is 9th north, but then you have 9th south. So all the 9ths are going to be together. All the 8ths are going to be together.
You see that? North has an N, south has an S. So that's critical. You'll be all south.
9th Avenue North. Let's keep going. 9th Court North. So the next one, 9th Court South.
Okay, let's see what we've got in there. This 1950, anything that looks.
Well, once you have that, then you can go down to the actual addresses. So you said 801?
803.
803. Utopia Clearance in Dyers.
Okay, so we know this building was there in what, 1940?
This is 1940.
Pretty sure it was there in 1940. It needs to verify. And that's what we're trying to do now, okay? If you were downstairs and you had all the city directories, and I had said that, something said to me, I think it was Birmingham or something, or whatever it is, said 1927. Ah, that's a great start date. So you would go to the 1927 or 1926, 1928 city directories, right? Because I've given you that date. Let's see the price. And in 1927, you would go through this process and see if you see something that would be this, right? You'd have a single building, I think, with multiple tenants in it.
And you said it was the Gable Square
Yeah.
building? So if we look down, 807 Gable Square's Delicatessen, and then there's also a drug company under that.
Okay,
So
that-
maybe that's something you could also check and see if any of the addresses maybe got shifted over time, maybe some of the numbers have changed, but then you could look
But
up,
you're right on there.
but then you could check 807 on the maps and see if that building pops up.
Okay. And again, that's what he's for, right? To help you figure this out, because it's a detective game. That's what history is, right? And when you're trying to find a local place, you've got pieces to work with, and they got to fit. You can't have something sitting down here that just doesn't fit in two.
And kind of going off of that, a lot of these materials, the Sanborn maps, the city directories, the Board of Equalization files, these are tax assessment documents for buildings. All of these are puzzle pieces. Yeah.
You keep talking if you need to get stuff together, because I know you need to.
But these are all puzzle pieces. It's going to be your jobs whenever you're doing the research to put those pieces together so you can tell the whole story. These are just going to get you those little tiny pieces. One thing may lead to another. The city directories may lead you to the Sanborn maps. The Sanborn maps may lead you to the Board of Equalization files. Each thing is going to lead you to something else or give you something else, another puzzle piece. It's going to be up to you to put those together to tell the whole story.
And so if in the city directories, there's no Gable Square, or no tenants, if there's residents, then you'll know it wasn't there in 1927 or 1926. But when you get to, when it first pops up as either Gable Square or some tenants in there, it's switched from residential to commercial, that might be the thing, right? You follow me? So you got to narrow down, and you can narrow down the pretty close date of construction, city directory. Sanborn was the one that contributed this to this.
If you have an address or parcel number, what we could also do is check to see if there is a Board of Equalization file. Again, they're organized by parcel number, not by address. But if you have the address, we might be able to figure out what the parcel number is. We could see if there is a file.
So let's open it up and just show them what they can find.
This is Washington Elementary School in Titusville. Sometimes there are photographs. A lot of times it'll have information on the construction materials used, maybe some measurements. This is a school building, so it's not as much, but we also have these for residential and commercial buildings.
And a lot of times it'll give you a footprint, like a floor plan or something like that.
I wouldn't call it a floor plan, but I would call it measurements because it kind of gives you a layout, but it won't tell you what's inside, what's on the floor plan. Right.
But it'll give you an outline.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, if it cannot possibly be this building, then it cannot possibly be this building, right?
A lot of times they'll also list what the buildings were, what they became, and there will be little notes in the margins. If you look at this, it even says down here, Washington School. If things had changed or if the place was vacant at some point, you would probably find a piece of paper that says vacant at this time, and then underneath it, 1950 building, or this was a school. These files will only go from about the 1930s to about the 1970s, though.
But they're awesome. Like this one says Washington Color.
Mm-hmm.
It'll tell you that one of the wings is 31 years old. So that's an addition. Stuff like that. We got to do it.
Yeah,
They don't
absolutely.
know.
Well,
But thank you very much. Does anybody have a question for Connor?
and again, you guys can always email me if you think of something later, or you can give us a call. But yeah, again, a lot of this is going to be little puzzle pieces for your research. But putting it together, you may be able to put together a timeline, see what the building is, see what it became, or why it's significant to a community.
And again, you can find out a race of people before up to 1952 in the city directories. And so see out the sign and these colors. Some years it'll have an asterisk. Okay, so that tells you that. And I want to know that. I want to know whatever, all the little things you can find, put it together in some paragraphs. You know, you're going to stand back and tell me a story.
If you are researching a particular building, I would also recommend when you do contact us, if you need to look at some of these resources, tell us the address. Try to get us as close as possible so we can help you find that, so we can pull these files. Again, if you have a parcel number for it, awesome. If you just have an address, we can kind of work with that. But giving us as much information as you can will make it a lot easier for us to help you.
Thank you very much.
No problem.